Hello everybody, SlimKirby here, welcome back to more of Metroid Fusion. This is actually going to be the finale. We have collected everything in the game, and we are basically going to head towards the end game now. So let's see what we got here. We're locked in the navigation room. Let's see what Adam has to tell us and how exactly we're going to be finishing this. Samus, we're done here. Leave the rest to the Federation. We should be preparing to evacuate the station. Are you joking? Do they know how dangerous the X are? How quickly they reproduce? The Federation has taken an interest in the X and SAX. They believe this life form has endless potential applications. This is ridiculous. The X are heartless abominations. What potential could they have? It is not necessary that you understand such matters. The Federation is coming now. You should just leave quietly. This is madness. They won't stand a chance here. This station will devour them. What could be worth the risk? Capturing the SAX, of course. Are you serious? Do they really think they can succeed? It will certainly be difficult. They don't expect your help. They know you would try to destroy the SAX. That's why they stopped sending you support data. The plasma beam modification was ready some time ago, but they withheld it to keep you from engaging the SAX. Yet somehow you restored that function on your own. They also tried to withhold the diffusion missile upgrade because they didn't want you to grow too powerful. But they had already sent it, and you tracked it down. Bravo, Samus. They must cancel this mission. Open a channel to HQ. I won't let this happen. They are already on their way. Fools. As soon as the Federation ships land, the X will overwhelm them and absorb the knowledge and power of their occupants. The X are just waiting for the hunt to begin, and then they'll spread across the universe. Galactic civilization will end. The X hunger for form, knowledge, and power. They mimic these perfectly, but they cannot copy the soul. They're single-minded, instinctively seeking to increase the number. They're a plague, and the Federation underestimates their threat. The X must not leave here. I must destroy them all before the Federation arrives. This station has a self-destruct mechanism. I must use it to destroy the X here and on the planet. I must send them to oblivion. Them, the station, and myself, if I have to. Open the hatch. I have been ordered to confine you until the ships arrive. Don't let them do this. Can't you see what will happen, Adam? Adam? Who is Adam? A friend of mine. And what would this friend advise you to do now? He would know that the only way to end this is to start the self-destruct cycle. He'd know how important it is. Did this Adam care for you? Would he sit in a safe command room and order you to die? He would understand that some must live and some must die. He knew what it meant. He made that sacrifice once. So he chose life for you, our fair warrior Samus Aran. Your Adam gave his life so that you might keep yours. For the sake of the universe. How foolish. How dare you! How could you hope to understand, machine? You know that detonating the station in high orbit would not guarantee the complete extinction of the X-parasites. Even though the station would be utterly destroyed, you would only succeed in removing the one obstacle to the galaxy's ruin, yourself. You would ignore this simple fact and choose death? When Adam decided who would live, he chose incorrectly. If you were to alter the station's orbit, then you might be able to include the planet in the vaporization field of the self-destruct detonation. You would have to start the propulsion sequence now, before the Federation arrives. Samus, this is your last mission. Go to the operations room and adjust the station's orbit path to intercept SR-388. Then return to your ship and escape. Move quickly and stay alive. That's an order. Any objections, lady? He said it. He said the thing. He said the thing that even Samus said that only he would say. Oh, there's no save room. I thought there was a save room that I could get to, but I guess I'd have to go the other way around to get to it, which is... Oh, there is another save room, I guess. I guess I can use that one up there. I just didn't know if, like, it would initiate anything before then. Okay, so, yeah. Pretty deep stuff. Pretty deep stuff. I would say more, but again, I don't want to really get into it too much because of, you know, Metroid Other M and other things that could be worth talking about at a future date and time, so I won't bother, but yeah, pretty intense stuff, not gonna lie. Okay, so there it is. It's the SAX. What the hell? Okay, it did that. Can we go up here now? We can. Managed to push it out of the way, which is good. Here's the operations room. Orbit change implemented. 3 minutes to impact. Okay. 3 minutes. It's the escape sequence. You know how this goes in Metroid games. So yeah, I believe we just need to get the hell out of here at this point. Kind of a bit of a anticlimactic final boss. I mean, we do, you know, get to fight the SAX and all that, which is pretty freaking epic, and we absolutely destroy it after not being able to for the entire game, but still, though, can't help but feel like it was pretty easy now that we have pretty much everything. And all the final form did was just kind of jump around. Jumped around, jumped around. It got up and got up and got down. Oh yeah. Okay, so we go over here. What the? Whoa! It's you! Oh no. The SAX is helping me. Wow, I didn't like take any damage there. And hey, look, our ship! Ship, we need you! We have 40 seconds to go! Get out of here! And there goes the space station. And we escape in the nick of time, as usual. That perfect military mind, the wisdom of Adam Malkovich, continued to serve even after death. Until today, I had no idea that the minds of leaders and scientists were frequently uploaded to computers. My incredible reunion with Adam may have saved the universe. But how will the beings of the universe view our resolve? I doubt they will understand what we did, the danger we barely averted. They will hold tribunals and investigations. They will hold us responsible. Adam understood this, and he spoke to me in my anger. Do not worry. One of them will understand. One of them must. I've reflected upon his words, and I see the wisdom in them. We are all bound by our experiences. They are the limits of our consciousness. But in the end, the human soul will ever reach for the truth. This is what Adam taught me. Just one detail still bothers me. This ship can only be started manually, yet before I faced the Omega Metroid, the ship moved on its own, guided by someone's hands. Is it possible? Adam? Lady, what's troubling you? You wonder how I started the ship? Just think about it. They lent me a hand. Aww. Little space creatures. They helped. We're helping. And there we go, guys. That is Metroid Fusion. We are done. This game is completed. And honestly, this is a really solid Metroid title, seriously. You know, it's not my favorite of the series. I still am very, very prone to enjoying Super Metroid and Metroid Zero Mission just a bit more. But I really love what this game does with, like, the Metroid formula. It puts it more kind of on rails and more linear than other Metroid games. But it has the same just awesome Metroid gameplay that you can find in any other Metroid title, and it's a lot of fun to play through. I do think it is probably one of the harder 2D Metroid games, well, not counting like the original and, you know, some aspects of like doing challenge runs of some of the other Metroid games, but as far as just like the vanilla game by itself and just going through the game, I honestly think this game is actually pretty difficult, because I was collecting a lot of stuff, and there were some bosses that actually kind of gave me some issues. So I think it's a very difficult Metroid game, but I think it's a fair challenge too, because just by, you know, playing around and experimenting, I think you can find like strategies for every boss and like ways to get through sections a lot safer. So I think it's a great game. I think it's a really, really fabulous game. If you haven't played it yet and you love the Metroid series or just Metroidvania games in general, I definitely recommend checking it out. Just be ready for you know, getting 100% in this game, if you do want to go for it, it can be kind of tedious. And I do recommend maybe using a guide to at least give you like some kind of an idea of what's around and where you can find things. Because there are some things that are not inherently obvious, and you have to kind of like really, really look around to find what exactly you need to get everything. But aside from that, I think it's a very, very fun Metroid game. Definitely one of the better points of the series. And it's a lot of fun. What can I say? That's all I can really say about it. So now we're going to get the ending. Now, I will go ahead and say this. I don't think I'm going to get the best ending because I do think I took kind of too long. But, you know, let's see. 438, that's not too bad. Rate for collecting items, 100%. There we go. Get a nice picture of Samus Aran, looking pretty as she always does. Pretty awesome. Ha! No, she's pretty beautiful too. And yeah, there we go. See you next mission. We did it, guys. Metroid Fusion is complete. So, I'm going to go ahead and just go back to the title screen here, and I may cut to some post-commentary just to kind of explain and talk about a few things as far as extras are concerned. So, yeah, we'll go ahead and get that started. Okay, guys, before I close out this video, I'm going to very briefly go over the extras of Metroid Fusion. There isn't really a whole lot to talk about here, and I figured that this would be the easiest and the most efficient way to cover this stuff. So I'm just going to very briefly showcase a few things, bring up some images when they are applicable, and then also maybe link to some of the outsourced videos in the video description if you want to see some of the other things I talk about. Just so I can get through these quickly and so we can wrap this up and kind of move on to the next project from here. So the first thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about the differences between the American version and the Japanese version. For the most part, there aren't really a lot of differences, but the Japanese version actually has a hard mode, which you unlock for beating just the normal game once. The hard mode, I'm not entirely sure of all the specifics, but if it's anything like the Metroid Zero mission hard mode, basically the enemies, I think, do more damage for the most part, so you have to be a lot more careful, and the enemies already do a lot more damage in Fusion as it is, so you have to be really, really careful. Also, E-Tanks and Missile and Power Bomb expansions will only increase your max amount by... in terms of E-Tanks, only by 50 energy as opposed to 100. And for Missile Tanks, you only increase your capacity by 2 and not 5. And for Power Bombs, only 1 instead of 2. So you basically have much less resources in hard mode as well. But if you do make it through hard mode, you can actually get some new endings. And when I say new endings, I don't mean like a change in the story. I mainly just mean the final ending image, which is the kind of usually the suitless Samus picture that we got, for example, but there'll be different poses and different variations of that as well. And if you play on hard mode, you'll get some ones that you will not get in the American version or the English version, because obviously the English version did not have a hard mode. So that is the first difference between the American and the Japanese versions. The second one is also once you beat the Japanese version once, you will unlock the gallery mode, which is just a way you can view all the ending images you have unlocked. It is actually kind of interesting because this is a feature, both of these features were actually added to Metroid Zero Mission in all international versions, not just for Metroid Fusion, this being Japanese exclusive. So in Metroid Zero Mission, you have different difficulties, and you'd also have the gallery mode where you could display all of those endings. So it is actually nice that they actually included that in that version, but for this version, unfortunately, if you do play the American version, you will be missing out on some of the other images that you can unlock, because you only have the ones that are basically unlocked through normal mode. So yeah, that's two of the things you get from the Japanese version. You have the different difficulty of hard mode, and then you also have a gallery mode where you can view all the endings. Unfortunately, if you're playing the American version, if you want to see a new ending, you have to actually just beat the game again and you don't really have a place to store those endings, so that is a little unfortunate, but that's just the way it is, unfortunately. So yeah, that's the first thing I wanted to talk about, and since we're kind of talking about endings, I will go ahead and show all of the ending pictures that you can get in this game, and I will basically show them on screen whenever I talk about the requirements and stipulations for each ending. So the first ending, I guess you could call it kind of the bad ending, although I really wouldn't even call it a bad ending. It's just kind of an ending, because again, when you think bad ending, you think like a worse result for the story, when in reality each ending has the same exact ending. It's just it's a different image you get. So this is the first image that you get. In order to get this image, you have to basically have a game completion time of over 4 hours and also be under 100% item completion. So basically, you take a long time, then you also don't get all the items. The second ending is in between 2 and 4 hours, but also under 100%. So basically, kind of in like a nice middle ground in between the 2-hour mark and the 4-hour mark, but you still also don't get all the items. So, you kind of work through the game decently fast, but maybe not the fastest, and this is pretty much the ending you get in that variation. The third ending, which is actually the ending I got in my playthrough, is basically you play for over 2 hours and you get 100%. So you basically just see a picture of Samus with her suit off in the city, and yeah, that's basically the ending I got. So you guys technically have seen this before. The fourth ending is actually playing and beating the game in under 2 hours, and then also getting under 100%. So you play through the game really fast, but you don't get all the items. It's basically Samus with her suit off, and she's leaning up against a ledge with her head leaned back. So this is the image you get for that. And the final ending image that you can get is if you beat the game in under 2 hours while also getting 100%, which I know that seems really, really hard to do, because there are a lot of items you have to get, and for some of the tougher items, you do have to kind of try to get them on your first go, as opposed to like some of the missile expansions and E-tanks that took me multiple tries. You'd almost have to get them on your first try. But the thing to keep in mind and remember is that you can always save your game. So if there's like one upgrade that's coming up that's really difficult, or if there's just a segment coming up that is really difficult for you, just save your game beforehand, and if you don't get through optimally, you can just reload your save and keep trying. It's definitely more than doable. I've definitely seen it done before. In fact, I know like the world record time for doing this right now in Metroid Fusion is like pretty close to the 1 hour in-game time mark. So it is definitely doable, but it is also pretty damn difficult to do as well. So for those who are not as well versed in Metroid Fusion and where all the items are and how to get them efficiently and how to basically route the game efficiently. But for those who are unable to do that, this is the image you get. Basically, Samus with her suit off, standing up with a clear image of her to the left. And it's basically, I guess, the best appearance of Samus Aran, I guess you could say. And like I said, there are also other endings for the Japanese version of Metroid Fusion because of the added hard mode and basically getting some of these requirements in hard mode. I'm not sure like which image is which, like which image is unlocked for which ending and everything like that. So I'm just going to link to a page with all the endings, and then you can just take a look at all of those other images as well. So you can find that in the video description. And there are also some images that you can unlock by linking Metroid Fusion and Metroid Zero Mission, I guess through a Game Link cable. So there is also that as well, if you wanted to basically check that out. So yeah, that's basically all I have to say in regards to the endings for Metroid Fusion. And since we are talking about game connectivity, I guess we can go ahead and move on to that, because not only is there, again, that game connectivity with, and again, I think this is just for the Japanese versions, but between Metroid Zero Mission and Metroid Fusion, there is actually a game link between Metroid Fusion and Metroid Prime. And this was one of the, I guess, main selling points of these two games because, or not really one of the main selling points, but it's a nice feature of both games because if you don't remember correctly, both games actually released like a day after each other. So I think like Metroid Prime released one day before Metroid Fusion. So as a result, they decided to basically include some connectivity between the two. And basically, if you have completed Metroid Fusion, and if you link the two games together via the GameCube and Game Boy Advance link cable, which is basically just something you plug into your GameCube that plugs into your Game Boy Advance, and then if you have the cartridge of the of Metroid Fusion in your Game Boy Advance, a completed version of Metroid Fusion, so make sure you actually beat the game once, you'll actually be able to play the original Metroid on your GameCube, and you actually can save your data via the GameCube memory card as well. So if you ever want to play through the original Metroid on the NES, you can do that. In addition to that, if you have a completed file of Metroid Prime and you link the two games together, and if you have, again, Metroid Fusion in your Game Boy Advance, you'll actually unlock the Fusion suit, which is the suit that Samus wears in Metroid Fusion for Metroid Prime. Now, technically, I guess both of those kind of fall more in line with Metroid Prime and, on the GameCube. But it is, again, a feature of Metroid Fusion, so I figured it was worth basically highlighting that. So it is kind of cool that the two games actually have some sort of connectivity together, and then just allows you to do some extra things in that regard. But yeah, that's pretty much all the secrets. The last thing I wanted to kind of talk about is there is actually kind of a secret cutscene. Not really a secret cutscene, it's more like secret dialogue in the game. It actually becomes available, and you have to do like a very, very tricky Shine Spark maneuver to actually unlock this. But basically, after you defeat Nightmare in the main game in Sector 5, basically what you have to do is you have to make it to a navigation room at that point, and you have to do it without grabbing the diffusion missiles. So you basically have to go like a slightly different path and just get to the navigation room without picking those up, because otherwise I think you would need the diffusion missiles in order to get to that navigation room. But using some of the game tech to your advantage, you can actually manage to bypass the diffusion missiles altogether. I feel like you ultimately will still need them to beat the game. I'm not 100% sure on that, to be quite honest. But if you manage to make it back to a navigation room after you beat Nightmare, you'll actually get a small little dialogue change where basically the computer and some other mysterious person will come on the loudspeaker and actually congratulate you for making it back to that point without grabbing the diffusion missiles, because apparently it can be kind of difficult to unlock that. So since I didn't really want to play the game again just to show that off, I am just going to once again link to a video. So once again, you can find that video in the video description. But it is kind of cool that they featured something like that. It's kind of akin to just Metroid games in general, where again, you have like kind of a free reign to explore. And if you really kind of use the mechanics to your advantage, you can actually bypass a lot of different things and, potentially sequence breaks and things as well. But yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say about Metroid Fusion. I really hope you guys enjoyed this playthrough. As for my next Metroid playthrough, I'm going to go ahead and admit I'm still not quite ready for the Prime series just yet. Just because, again, I have no familiarity with the Prime games. I've played the first one a couple of times, but haven't even finished the game. And it's something I do want to be able to do before I actually move on to those games. And since I am getting kind of close to the point where I have almost caught up with the entire series, that is something I will try to start doing at some point soon. But for right now, I think I am going to still focus on some of the other 2D Metroid games and basically some of the non-Prime games. And I want to say at this point, we're only down to 2, not counting Federation Force, or Pinball, or Hunters, or any of those kind of like more spin-off-y games. But I am down to basically the remake of Metroid 2 that was released on the 3DS, which is Samus Returns, or is it I think it is Samus's Return, because I think the Game Boy is Return of Samus. So there is Samus's Return on the 3DS, and there is also Metroid Other M, which is a game I've alluded to multiple times in this playthrough. It actually does kind of have some kind of story beats similar to Metroid Fusion, in the sense that it kind of connects the dots a little bit from like one game to another. Honestly, it's looking like that might be my next Metroid playthrough, but I don't know. I might decide to do the Metroid 2 remake first. I really don't know at this point. But I was happy to come back to the Metroid series, because even though Metroid's not one of my most favorite Nintendo franchises, it is still a series I do get a lot of enjoyment out of, and, you know, the main hero of the game, Samus, is pretty badass, so we'll definitely keep on looking at the series. Just not entirely sure what my next playthrough is going to be. I'm not asking for any suggestions. It's going to be whatever I feel like in the moment, so just kind of brace yourselves, because one of the next Metroid playthroughs will be Other M, and I know a lot of people are very, very, very vocally against that game for understandable reasons. And again, we'll talk about that more when we actually get to that playthrough. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. This has been SlimKirby. Thank you guys for listening, and I will talk to you guys next time for my next playthrough. Later, folks.